All right, today I was going to jump back on some metal fab, but I'm going to ride the momentum we got with the motor today. The last video you saw, we put together the short block that's going to go in Lola at some point. And today I think we'll turn that into a long block. I got the lifters soaking last night, so they're good. You normally want about 24 hours. We're going to be a little shy, but they've been in there for about 18, so that'll be all good. So I'm gonna go ahead and unwrap the motor, get it ready, change, think about which oil pump I want to put in it, and we'll get started. We're gonna start with the oil pump, get the oil pan on it, flip it back over. I've got to clean the mating surfaces for the heads, and then we'll go over what heads we're gonna use, why, and the benefits to different types of heads, and we'll try to learn something. I'll try to learn you guys a few things. Again, this is a very budget-minded build. All the measuring was already done, mostly because the failure on the motor didn't cause any damage to any of the critical parts. So we're kind of able to cheat on this one a good bit. And we caught the failure in time. So future builds, that one right there. We're going to go the much more expensive route. And then I got something cooking in the background that I think a lot of you guys will enjoy in the next week or two. And we'll get back to the track soon also. So let me get changed, grab some stuff, get organized, open a door, get some airflow, and let's get after it. All right, so I've got a couple different oil pumps. Good friend of mine. I got this pump from probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. It's one he wasn't using. It's a standard oil pump, which is what was in here. I actually haven't looked at it yet, so we're going to look at it together. I think it's new, which it is. It's a standard 302 pump. Comes with a gasket. These pumps are fine for, most builds. They do a great job. And they will support, a few hundred horsepower with no issues. The other option that we have is I ordered this guy a little while ago. Comes with a pickup tube, gaskets, and a new fuel pump drive shaft. We're most likely going to go with this one. This is a high volume pump. Not to be confused with a high pressure pump. So there is a difference there. The biggest of which most people think high volume and high pressure are synonymous. They are not. A high volume will have a trigger inside that at a certain pressure, it will still relieve mechanically, but it's designed to move more oil at that same pressure. A high pressure pump uses pressure to force oil through a really tight engine. So if you've got a really tight tolerance engine, like a lot of these late model cars have, you want, more pressure to get your oil in those thin tolerances. Not really a problem we have with these old small blocks. I jokingly say all the time that these old small blocks from the 60s through 90s, they were built with 2x4s, and that'll do. This new stuff has got a lot more science and engineering in it than these did. These are still fun. These are still relevant. These still get the job done. But there's a lot less involved with them. And I'm still a fan of them. I still race on old Gen 1 Chevy stuff. And I'm still competitive. So we like this old stuff, and it's a dying art. So we're probably going to go with this one because it gives us everything new from the bottom of the distributor all the way to the pickup, and it's going to give us a better end result, a little more security, a little bit more peace of mind. So I'm going to flip this block over. We're going to get this pump ready. We're going to go ahead and install it, and we'll get the oil pan on, and then we'll come back to this side and we'll clean the head surface up and go over some cylinder. This is also probably a good time to talk to you guys about the difference between short block and long block. If you don't know the difference, um, for all intents and purposes, short block is basically what we've got here. So you've got a block, crankshaft, connecting rods, pistons attached, all of that assembled and torqued down. Depending on who, if you buy your engines from a magazine, like Summit Racing or Jegs or one of those websites, which there's nothing wrong with that. Honestly, if something happens with this one again, because the parts are becoming such a pain in the butt for me to find, it'll get a blueprint 351 in it next time, just to save time and headache. And I trust Blueprint. I've had good experience in the past with them, with customer cars. They've done great. A long block would be, flip this over, and you've got cylinder heads on, valve train assembled, camshaft, push rods, lifters, rockers, all that stuff, on assembled, torqued, lashed, set up, ready to go. The differences in the different companies you buy from, some short blocks may come with the oil pump and oil pan already on. Usually not with the Fords, because you have to put the timing cover and all that stuff on for the oil pump to go on. So typically with a Ford Windsor, you're going to get something that looks like this. With the Chevrolets, you typically don't get any tins either, but you'll get the oil pump in a box with either one. A long block is going to be, it's going to differ from company to company. I think ATK sends you the engine with no tins, oil pump in a box. A lot of builders of the Chevrolets will be oil pan on, timing cover on, valve covers on, but no intake or anything like that. So that's the main difference between a long block and a short block. Short block, no heads. If you can remember, it's shorter. And a long block, it took them longer to build. That's the best way I can have you remember it. So where we're going to get to today is your typical long block. We're going to try to get the valve train in and everything. We probably won't put the pan on again because of the timing cover stuff with these. And I have to decide my timing set. I've got a double roller over there, but I don't think I have all the hardware in-house right now to attach it. So our goal is just to get our long block assembled, and we'll cover it up again tonight. So I've got the area cleaned up for the oil pump. The biggest thing I got to make sure is that my pickup tube that came with this oil pump works with my oil pan. And I can almost guarantee you that it doesn't, which is fine. We'll use the old pickup tube and clean it up. With Fords, specifically things like Fox body Mustangs, you're going to get oil pans that have two sumps. It's going to look like a double humped camel. I run a single sump pan because this is going in a truck. So this pickup tube differs greatly than what came out. So the biggest difference, let me grab the old oil pan, oil pump for you. So here's the old oil pump that came out. You can see where this mounts. It goes there, and then we've got a stud on this main girdle here, on this main cap, that holds that in place. The new pickup tube gets real close to the same place, but it doesn't have this brace to help hold it still under high RPM. I'm probably going to swap out the pickup for this one, just for peace of mind. But again, I haven't fully decided that, if I'm honest. Step one is get the new pump mounted right here on this nice clean surface I just made. Torque spec for this is 25 foot-pounds, so not a whole lot. You can over torque it. You'll squish this gasket out, and then you've got oiling problems, and then you'll be right back here in no time. So let's go ahead and get that mounted. One thing worth noting you need to keep an eye on when you're installing a new oil pump is verify this clearance here. So this is the flange that the pickup tube mounts to. And this is a counterweight on the crankshaft. So this is going to be spinning when you're getting after it, you know, 6,000 to 7,000 RPM whipping by here. You don't want these two touching. So check your clearance after you torque it down with a gasket, just to cover your own butt. Big problems if you lose that. So against my original judgment, I was going to take this off the old pump and put it in place of the new one. But after looking at it, this puts us real close to the same spot that this one does. It doesn't have this brace, but if you can see the condition of that pickup, the screen's a little beat up. How many times it's been used, I don't know. This was the original pump from 1991 when this motor was originally built on a Mustang. So I'm gonna opt out of this, and we're gonna use the new one, and we're gonna just check clearance real quick by just setting the pan on with no gasket. If there's no clearance problems with no gasket, there won't be a clearance problem with a gasket. So I'm gonna go ahead and knock all that out real quick. If there is a clearance issue with this new one, I'm just gonna have to bite the bullet and use this old pickup. There's no debris in it. The screen's just a little pushed, possibly from storage, possibly from sitting around. Could also be from something that happened in the almost 40 years that this thing was inside this block that we don't know about. So let me get that all figured out, and we'll come back once I make a decision. All right, as you can see, went with the new one. A couple of reasons for that. With the pan off, measuring the depth of the pan, this actually sits about a 1/4 inch lower in the oil, which, as we know, heat rises, cold sinks. That 1/4 inch gets us to slightly cooler oil. It also creates better suction against the bottom of the pan. Now, it does still leave us a nice 1/2 inch gap between the face of this and the bottom of the pan. It's a more rigid design, and it's new. It's clean. The screen's in great condition, and it came with this pump. So I went ahead and put this one in. It's not floppy, nothing like that. I cannot put the oil pan on right now because, again, all the timing stuff needs to go on prior to me being able to do that, because with the Fords they use the time, well, the Chevys do too, but with Fords it's more pronounced. The timing cover is a very important part to sealing the oil pan, so that'll go on at a later time. Now we're going to flip this back over. I'm going to clean the surfaces up for the cylinder heads, and we'll move on to going into those and what cylinder heads I'm using and why. And they're pretty cool units. Note for anyone doing this, at this point you need to set this drive shaft somewhere that you won't lose it. Obviously it's important for oiling. This is what drives our oil pump. But two, these are really hard to find in the right length for your application. So if you get a new one, hold on to it. All right, guys, one more thing when you're dealing with some of these Fords. Chevys are obviously super straightforward. This stamping here, this XXX on each side, all that means is that this is a factory roller block. They can be found in some pickups, but they were usually found in like LTDs and Mustangs and stuff like that. So this one came out of a Mustang. It's out of an old Fox body. You can run your numbers codes. They're down here on the back near the bell housing. You can run those, but if you take the intake off and you see this, it's a factory roller block, so it's not been retrofitted in any way, and you can buy factory stuff. They are some excellent retrofit kits for the non-roller blocks to turn them into rollers. And if you are going to go for high horsepower, I mean more than, you know, 300, 350 flywheel horsepower, not wheel, flywheel, you're going to want one of those blocks. They are a little bit stronger here. The Achilles heel to these 302s is at about 400 to 450 horsepower. They just split right down the middle. They just can't take it. they hit a harmonic and the block itself will actually twist, and it is just cast iron, so it pops and now you're in a world of trouble. So I recommend, if you're going for big power, just find a 351 or get something later. There's some companies out there, actually no, Ford just did it. Ford is remaking these blocks without that problem. All brand new castings, factory rollers. They're a little spendy, but that's badass. You can still keep your 302 and make a whole bunch of power and just do ignorant stuff. So that's kind of fun. Just a quick piece of information for you guys. So now I'm going to clean up this surface. I'm going to do it the no-no way, so I'm not going to film it. Which for me, I'm just going to wire brush it. Again, I didn't have to deck this. I decked those cylinder heads. But let me clean this up and I'll go over the cylinder heads with you. All right, so all clean, pretty. Wipe it out, go back in, make sure you don't have any debris stuck down in any of the cylinders. Of course, if you had a machine shop, do your work up until this point. Everything should be nice and clean, ready to go. All the surfaces have already been cleaned, and you don't have any of the stuff to worry about that I just had to do. So, head gaskets, I always put the printed side up. If they're unmarked, these are marked. You can see where it says front on there. So one's going to go printed side up and one's going to go printed side down, unfortunately. So here is the front of the engine for this guy. Here is the front of the engine for this guy. So we're going to get those on. They're good to go. Your oil return hole on the 302 should be just above the casting on each side, so that as oil comes off the rockers, it can find its way back down to the valley and eventually trickle back down into the oil pan area. You also want to make sure that you don't have any funky blockages of water jackets or anything like that. And then the last thing you want to do is you want to go in and make sure that all your dowel pins for the cylinder heads are in place. That's what's going to line up your cylinder head so that all the water passages and all that stuff line up for proper cooling, and your push rods, where they go through the heads, they're not banging off anything. So get all that lined up. I'm going to go grab the cylinder heads and we'll start talking over why I chose the ones that we're putting on and what's so cool about them. Okay, dowel pins in place, everything's good to go. Let's talk cylinder heads. The ones we're going to be using, they are iron heads, but what's cool about these is they're a World head and they're a Roush 200cc head, which is technically a circle track head. Those guys class race, and they have to have cast iron heads to meet class rules, blah, blah, blah. I like them because these are a way more inexpensive option if you can find a set than like Windsor Junior heads. These flow, the 200cc ones flow better than the Windsor Junior heads do off the shelf. Plus, when you pop your hood and we're done painting this motor when it's all assembled, people are just going to see the iron heads and assume it's a slow dog, which is exactly what I want people thinking. Most of the cars we build are to have fun. This one's just a cruiser burnout machine, have a little bit of enjoyment. You can tell we are running ARP head studs. That's just for security. Not putting it under any boost. This just gives us the extra clamping force to help fight a couple of the 302's tendencies of breaking up. So, some of the points on these heads that I'll go over are, they've got a closed chamber design. Helps boost a little bit of that compression ratio up. These were the heads that were on it when the engine failed. It does have a couple little dings here, but overall they are fine. I did have these decked, did have them checked, and they're good to go. So I'm going to get these on and get them torqued. Fords are super simple. when it comes to torquing them down versus the Chevys. You start in the center and you just kind of work your way out. Same torque specs for both sides and every stud. We do a 3-step process. We'll go 25 foot-pounds, then 50, then I'll jump to 80 for the final torque. With Chevys, you have the ones that go around the cylinders, and then you've got a row of smaller bolts which have a separate torque spec, and the procedure is a little different. So make sure you check for your particular application. I'm going to go ahead and get these bolted down and torqued, and we'll see you in a sec. And I forgot to tell you, I'm kind of a brain dead ding dong this morning. Sorry, guys. When using ARP studs, okay, ARP has a fastener lubricant that they require. Any stud manufacturer does. It's good practice with any head bolts also. Here's ARP stuff, comes with the studs. I keep this stuff on hand. Another version, Carrillo makes an excellent lubricant. You're going to put it on the threads of the studs and on both sides of the little washer that goes between the head and the nut. That's going to take rotation or frictional torque out of the question, so you get a good bite and it torques down properly. Without that, you can get a false reading on your torque wrench. You'll think you're at 80, but that extra friction in there, you're actually at like 65, and you're going to cause yourself problems. So use this stuff. It's good stuff. All right, all torqued down. We've got our push rod guides in place, which keep in mind, if you're going to run these, you need to run hardened push rods. I want to show you guys, World Performance makes these for the Windsor motors. I'm not sure if they still make them. I got lucky with this set. They actually came on the truck. So I didn't order them. We did as much research as we could about the valve springs on here, and we gambled. When I say we, I gambled on a cam. The one that was in here was a stock Mustang cam, which I'm not against using. I just wanted a little more. When I first got this truck, the problem I was having was, if you're doing anything aggressive, you know, burnouts for instance, or racing, when it would shift, especially during burnouts, it would pull the motor way down out of the power band. And I thought it was the torque converter, but nobody knew the cam specs. You pulled the valve covers off, it had adjustable valve train, what looked like new stuff in there. And so we kind of assumed there was a cam, but we didn't know what. So I hopped up the stall on the converter, helped a little bit, but not much. So when it broke, I took it out, spec'd the cam, ran the numbers. It's a stock, like 91 Mustang 5.0 GT cam. Not a bad camshaft for driving around, but completely mismatched with the rear gears I had in it, which this truck is running 410s through a posi, and then a 2500 stall, which now this will push the stall up to about 2700 with the new cam. It's a little more aggressive, a little more compression with the new pistons, which is good. It should wake up a lot. So I matched the cam to what I already had, which is the backwards way of doing it, but you can get away with it. So we're gambling on the springs. So the heads are torqued. What I'm going to have to do now, lube the crap out of the cam, get it in there, and get ready to do some figuring on the valve springs. And I've got to do some checking on there. Do your homework first, kids. So that's kind of the gist here, but technically we're about halfway through between a short block and a long block. So we're gonna double check everything on the second cylinder head and get ready to throw this cam in, and I'll show you guys the cam card so you can see what cam we're going with if you guys are building a 302 yourself. Again, this is about this should be about 300 to the wheels through an automatic, a very parasitic automatic as well. It's an AOD 4-speed auto. I want the overdrive because, again, we do power torn stuff. So let me grab this cam card and show you guys, I'll show you what we're working with. All right, so here's the specs on our TrickFlow cam. Again, I am not sponsored by anyone. Remember that it's a 302 HO, so you have to buy a cam for a 351 Windsor. Don't forget that, or your crankshaft and camshaft timing will not work together. So here's our cam card. I'm gonna move slow for you guys, and we'll go back. So this is assuming a 1:6 rocker ratio. We're gonna be a 542 lift on the intake, 563 on the exhaust, with a 112 lobe separation, and a 5-degree advance. So it's gonna wake up a good bit over what we had before. Again, it's gonna wake up a lot. The gamble is the valve to piston clearance should not actually be an issue, but the gamble is the valve springs. So we're just gonna see what happens. You know, it's my money, not yours. This is the wrong way to do it, but I'm doing it. So you take what you can, educated guess wise, and just, you know, be okay with failure, but be ready for success. So that's what we're doing with this one. Of course, after we get this thing assembled, I've got to tape it off and we're going to paint it. Probably go back board blue because it's going to look really good in there. So I'm going to back this up a little bit so you guys can see, and we'll get the camshaft installed. And then we'll go over getting lifters set in. This utilizes a set of dog bones to hold the lifters straight in the bore. And then it's got a little spider that holds them all down. So we'll go through all that here in just a minute. Let me get some stuff situated. See you in a sec. All right, so when you're installing your camshaft, to you Chevy guys, this might look funny. This is the front on a Ford. This is the rear on a Chevrolet. Also the front on a big block Chrysler. So this is your distributor drive gear. It's real important when you're building an engine, you know what this is made out of, so that you can match it with your distributor, or you're just going to tear stuff up. This one was easy because it's an iron cam and I've got an iron drive gear. There, you always want your, I'm sorry, I got a steel drive gear on the distributor. You want the camshaft to be the harder material. It's way easier to pull a distributor than it is to pull a camshaft. But in real world, you want them to match so that neither one's tearing up the other. So when you're putting this together, you've got your cam hole in the front. These are all different sizes. So you've got your first main cam journal. It's going to be smaller than this one, which is smaller than this one, which is smaller than this one, which is smaller than this one, but not by a lot. We're talking a tiny bit, but that's to aid you in getting it in to the block. So again, be very generous with your assembly lube here. You'll see guys going nuts and coating the whole cam right from the word jump. That's just unnecessary mess. So I'll lube up the first few journals and get the cam in. Okay, and then stop there. Okay, cam will sit there. Don't have to freak out. It's fine. And now you can lube your next little section. Get it in there. Stop. When I say generous, there's no such thing as too much lube. Ask your wife or girlfriend. She'll most likely agree. If she doesn't, she's lying. So you're just going to go section by section very carefully. Get it all lubed up. And then put a healthy amount on that distributor drive gear. Again, you cannot over lube this, especially in this case where this motor is going to be sitting for a little while before it gets fired up. I've got a lot of work to do on the truck itself still, but I wanted to make some progress on this mainly because I don't want, while I'm doing metal work on that, stuff getting in this nice clean block and potentially causing me problems down the road. So once your camshaft is in, clean up, and we can start talking valve train. I'm gonna go grab the keeper on these Fords. There's a little 2-bolt plate that holds the cam in, so it can't walk around on you while you do all your other stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab that, get that installed. There's no gaskets involved with that, but I like to lube the backside of the plate to protect the face of the camshaft. That way, on that first startup is where all the problems are gonna happen. You have lubrication already there. You notice I lubed all the lifter lobes as well. Same reason. Yes, it's a roller cam, but you want to eliminate any and all possible issues that you may have from jump as often as you can, and that's the best way to do it. So let me get this cam retainer on, and I'll move the motor back to where you guys can see. We'll start going after the valve train. All right, here's where things start getting drastically different depending on your engine. So to not convolute everybody with too many facts that may not pertain to you, I'm just going to show you a couple things real quick, and then I'm going to cut the video and I'm actually going to run through so I can concentrate and get this valve train completely done, get the lash set. It's a lengthy process, but it's slightly different depending on what you're building your engine for and who made your engine. First thing I want to show you is with this Ford, you've got 2 dowel pins for the cam, single roller, double roller. We're going to be using the double roller to keep the timing set in check. I am going to go with a double roller 2-chain setup for the timing. Just added safety and strength, not that this needs it per se. Number 2 thing that you're always going to have to do with any hydraulic roller motor or any hydraulic flat tappet engine is you need to soak your lifters. Get you a cheap Tupperware. My wife is pretty awesome and understanding, and she donates every now and then. Those have been soaking now for about 20 hours, maybe a little bit more. And that's to get all the air out of those lifters, so that when you start up, they don't collapse and fail right off the rip. So once you get your lifters in, you get your hold downs in, and everything's good to go, you're going to get your push rods in. Some engines, there is a top and bottom. Other engines, there's not. Look at your particular engine and your particular push rod manufacturer for that information. Number 2, guide plates are going to dictate if you need to run hardened or not hardened. Out of practice, I typically run hardened, but that does dictate what rockers you get. So all this stuff starts getting very specific to your specific build, and there's a lot of information, and I don't want to confuse anybody, including myself. So here pretty soon I'm going to cut this video, and I've just got to run through it. But essentially, once the valve train is in and you have your timing set on, that's a long block. So that's where you end up with the term long block. Obviously, you won't have an oil filter hanging off. I keep that there to protect the threads on my oil filter adapter until it's in the car. That'll get pulled off and a brand new one will go on. So hopefully I've helped you guys see some things. This is an extremely budget friendly 302 build. Again, this thing's making, if it makes 300, it's been a really good day. You know, it's just a toy. It's a little burnout truck. It makes smoke, makes noise, and we bring it to a lot of like car shows and goof off spots. We don't race this thing. We do power tour with it, so it's nothing too extreme. We got other cars for that. So if you got any questions, concerns, things that you may need to know about your setup, drop a line in the comments. Ask away. Give us subscribe, follow. I appreciate every single one of you. I'm trying to get back in the swing of this stuff. I'm going to try to drop videos far more often than I have been, and try to be more in tune with what you guys want. Obviously, if you're here, you're probably here because you like the old school stuff, and you don't care much about the stuff I do during the day, which is the late model stuff. But it is a big part of my life, so you're probably going to see it every now and then. So yeah, that's essentially how you go from a short block to a long block. You're a set of heads and a valve train away from typically a few $1,000s from any manufacturer you go with. So the next time you guys see this, it'll probably be painted, have an intake on it. It's getting a 750 double pumper, mechanical secondary carburetor, no choke. I do live way down here in the south, so you know, chokes are good for about 2 weeks out of the year, so I just don't run them. Don't need them. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I appreciate every single one of you for following along. That's it, man. That's the 302 going in that monster. And we'll get back to, I've got to do cab mount still, so we'll get back to some metal work here soon. I hope you guys liked it, love it, appreciate you. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you. Before ending, wanted to show you guys where we ended up. So there you go. These are inexpensive ProFarm roller rockers. Again, just another safety thing over the stamped steel ones. These are a little bit more robust and they wear components a lot less than the stamped steel style. So there you go, guys. Thanks for watching. Keep building, keep kicking butt. We'll see you on the